what America was and what it can become. This is Liberty Town Hall.
And thanks for watching us today. It's Liberty Town Hall. I'm Greg Marshall with Glenn Wilson today. We've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. As you know, the debate is going to be tonight, the second presidential between President Obama and Republican hopeful Mitt Romney. That's going to be an interesting one, especially after the performance on the first presidential debate. And we'll see how all that goes. We're going to talk about it at length in this conversation, that and the vice presidential debate some. Looking forward to that with Glenn. And also, Glenn, there's a story on the sanctity of life that is just amazing.
It's atrocious. Shameful beyond all comprehension that this could happen right here in America, Greg. This is really unbelievable. When you think the very people that are supposed to protect you end up killing your baby, that's really scary. That's really scary. Yeah.
If you think Glenn's a little speechless from this, just wait until you see this. You're going to be wanting to tell your friends about this and just get out on the porch and scream over this one. It's a huge story coming up later on today. We'll have the full details for you coming up. This is Liberty Town Hall.
The sun used to make our outdoor deck and patio space so hot and uncomfortable we couldn't use it.
But then we discovered the Sunsetter retractable awning.
It provides instant protection from the sun's harmful rays.
It keeps our patio about 20 degrees cooler.
Now you can get your Sunsetter for as little as $499 when you call now to get this special $200 discount certificate.
Call now for your free Sunsetter DVD and $200 discount certificate.
Call 1-800-653-7009.
Flu season, be prepared. Get your immunizations now at Rose City Drug, your one-stop pharmacy, home health care, and medical supply outlet, offering a variety of on-site immunizations. Walk-ins are of course welcome. Call now for more information.
Less than an hour from now, Republican hopeful Mitt Romney will be taking on President Obama, the second of three presidential debates. We've already had the first, and the vice presidential debate has come up as well. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about a little bit right now, is kind of doing a armchair quarterback with the past debates, looking forward to tonight's as well. Glenn, you had some interesting contrast between the first presidential debate and the vice presidential debate as well. To kind of tell us your thoughts on that.
I think the first debate with President Obama, I thought he was disengaged. I thought he lost that debate hands down. And he didn't even realize it. People had to go back and explain to him that he lost the debate, hands down.
According to reports, that's correct, that he walked off that stage believing he had totally won that debate and had dominated Mitt Romney. And it ends up that his handlers had to explain it to him, according to reports anyway. If the reports are accurate, he didn't even realize it and had to be shown what a mess it is. But reports say that he is studying very hard, Glenn, this time to see what happens.
He's going to come back swinging. I wouldn't be surprised at all if President Obama wins the debate this time. But one thing I would suggest that President Obama does not do, and that's make light and laugh about the situation with Iran. I thought it was very offensive when the vice president actually laughed and smirked and smarked about having a nuclear Iran. He said, well, it's two parts. You have to have one is the nuclear bomb itself, and then you have to have a way to deliver the bomb. Well, have you ever heard of a suitcase, Mr. Vice President? It doesn't even have to be a highly enriched uranium bomb, just even a dirty bomb. Absolutely. So I'm really scared about the levity that he made of it. That concerns me. So I'm hoping that the president brings some more substance. And honesty, Greg, I was watching the debate from last election with McCain, and in the town hall forum, which is exactly what we're going to have tonight, he laid out a whole series of things that had to be done in his first term. He said we have to get our physical house in order, we have to address entitlements. He called it unpatriotic to spend money in the deficit at the rate George Bush was doing it, and yet he's doubled the pace. So I'm waiting for some credibility in these guys. No matter what they say, no matter win, lose, or draw in the debate, I want them to be honest and straightforward. I honestly think he's going out there and just saying what people want to hear, regardless of the facts at hand, Greg. It really concerns me about how much we're being leveled with when they go out there and they give their debate. They practice and they practice and they practice, and they have somebody there rehearsing with them just to get us to believe them. And then if we give them the job, they don't do the job that they promised. So that's a real big concern. And I want to know how we're going to address that in our debate process.
Well, I do think that both candidates, especially President Obama, senses the same concern that you have in the community. Because look what happened after the first presidential debate. Basically, the Democratic side came out and started using what I affectionately refer to as the liar, liar, pants on fire defense. Yeah. I mean, they start, Mitt Romney's a liar. He's a liar. He's lying. He's lying.
You have the altitude defense that, you know, Denver's so high off the ground.
Well, if you notice, that didn't last but about a day.
Yeah, that
remember that one burned up pretty fast. Yeah. But they tried to make that liar thing stick. Well, he's just lying. He's just lying about his thing. So
fact checks say not.
Fact checks say not. That's exactly right. And I want to go back to vice presidential comments a little bit about Iran, laughing about how, oh, they're not that far. They've got a lot more to do.
And if it doesn't matter because they don't have a way to deliver it.
Let me remind you of a couple of things. In 1995, we came very close to a second Korean War, really close. And I could go into a lot of detail. It was very funky how it all ended up getting worked out, but it did. And we didn't have a second Korean conflict, thank goodness. But here's the details of what happened. They signed that accord in 1995, 1996, got all the details worked out that the Korea is not going to be putting out nuclear weapons. Then, not too long after, another president named George W. Bush, Bush the Younger, and we end up finding out that Korea makes a big announcement that, yes, we now have nuclear weapons. We're part of the nuclear club, and they tested a bomb to prove it. So treaties, do they necessarily matter? Does somebody's word necessarily matter? I mean, a lot of the things that
unless we can hold them accountable, unless we can say, no, the deal was this, you're not going to get away with it no more. How do we hold them accountable?
The scary thing is you don't unless you're willing, potentially, and I'm not advocating this, but this is how serious it gets with nations. It's not like your child and hold them accountable by punishing them if they do something wrong outside of the family unit. What you have to do in a case of nations, there's only one hammer that really works well. I hate to say it, but you know as well as I do, it's war.
Speak softly, carry a big stick.
Teddy Roosevelt spoke right when he said that. That phrase has been around for a long time for a reason. I'm not advocating going to war. I hope we don't. I hope it never has to. But as long as the other side believes we will not, no matter what,
then we lost.
Unfortunately so.
We need to be tempered with the size of our military and the influence we put around the world. We can't just be the big bully on the block. But at the same token, when somebody sits down and creates a treaty or negotiates with us, we should hold them accountable for it. And then, Greg, what do we do with the unknown deals in the back room? If you look back at the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was a deal to get our missiles out of Turkey. But they couldn't do that or even announce it until 6 months after the Russians removed the missiles from Cuba. So is any of those deals going on? Is that why Korea now has nuclear weapons? We said, hey, listen, we need to take this off the front page. You guys do this more quietly. You know, we'll do this here. Yeah, we're not really going to enforce it. Or did some policy change in the meantime? Because President Bush called them the axis of evil.
Yes, he did.
But what does that mean? Are we going to stop that from happening? Are we as a nation going to tell another country what to do? Really, are we? Is there any sovereignty to their nations? Maybe that's part of the problem why people don't like us is because we're out here telling everybody what to do.
Could very easily be, and we'll discuss that at length as we go on. There's more to talk about. Stay tuned. A powerful discussion on the sanctity of life. You're not going to believe this story coming up. That's next. Stand by. This is Liberty Town Hall.
Have fun with your photos at Rose City Drug. In the photo department, get fast processing and have fun by creating unique digital photo gifts on site or online. Save those precious memories at Rose City Drug, 2640 North M33 Rose City, or online.
United States senators create laws that affect all Americans. In Michigan, the old parties are running Senate candidates who will sink you into endless debt, embark on costly foreign crusades, and violate your freedom. These policies have created the current economic depression. I'm Scotty Bowman, and I pledge to end deficit spending, restore the Constitution, and put your freedom first. Help me fight for you by making a contribution at scottybowman.org. I'm Scotty Bowman, candidate for United States Senate, and I have approved this advertisement.
A lot of people ask the question right now, what is the sanctity of life, and do we even have such a thing? Now, I'm going to ask that out loud. Probably most people watching this program, you're going to say, well, of course we do. Of course we do. But you have to ask the question. Over 1 billion babies, according to UN and other reports worldwide, have been what I call exterminated through abortion. Not only that, but there are people that are pushing for things like being allowed to have a baby spontaneously aborted as you wish up to 2 years old. Now, is there very many people pushing for that? No. But you've got to wonder where those kind of thoughts come from. Now, they come from some ugly places. I mean, we could sit and speculate all day long and share some thoughts that I'll bet we both agreed with. But think about this. Even individually, we're having trouble keeping up with the sanctity of life and what is precious. Let me give you an example. Would you believe that there are people in this world who will see a baby moving after it's born and just toss it away like yesterday's garbage? I'm not kidding. I'm serious. I want you to watch this story courtesy of WSMV television in Nashville. You're going to be amazed at what you're going to see here. And let me warn you, although there's not shocking images, there is some shocking descriptions, so be aware of that as we watch.
A mother of 3 is suing the sheriff's department after a trip to jail ended in horror.
Lisa Allison says Metro jail guards actually flushed her miscarried baby down a toilet. Channel 4's Dennis Ferrier with a story that is simply hard to believe.
Well, you know, it's the kind of thing you would expect to happen in some third world dictatorship, but Davidson County, is it possible? Listen for yourself.
Bye.
Lisa Allison is due any day. She's expecting her 4th daughter. But this story is not about this baby. It's about what happened 2 years ago in the Metro Nashville jail. Lisa Allison was there for a probation violation after filing a false police report to protect her then boyfriend. It was her one and only time in jail. It was her birthday, and she was in Bible study.
I started having severe pains, at which point I started bleeding profusely. I had actually passed the baby in the toilet. To my knowledge, I thought, I didn't know what had happened.
Lisa was rushed to the hospital where she had lost so much blood she had to have an emergency blood transfusion. The last thing she remembered was paramedics saying, "Don't flush the toilet, take the baby to the hospital."
The doctor had asked me, "Where's your baby?" And I said, "I don't know." And she had actually radioed to the lieutenant at the jail and asked, "Where is her baby?" And he said, "I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that." And she said, "Well, someone better produce a baby or someone's going to be in trouble."
But the baby never made it to the hospital, never made it out of the toilet.
When I got back to the CDC, I was told by all of the inmates that the guards were joking about the baby being alive and that it was moving. I'm sorry. They used a pipe snake to dispose of my baby. And I'm not quite sure why.
And that's the question Jim Roberts wants an answer to as well. Roberts is demanding answers and compensation in a lawsuit.
The idea that they would think it was appropriate to snake a toilet that was clogged up so that they could flush a baby down that toilet is just inexcusable. I can't even imagine why they thought that was okay.
And unfortunately, we can't get any answers either. The Sheriff's Department says it will not comment on any matter under pending litigation, and this case is in court right now.
No matter how guilty a person might be, that child is innocent, and it's always going to be innocent. And that innocent child was flushed down a toilet intentionally.
We may only get an answer to these questions if this goes to trial. Right now, it is in Davidson County Court. Miss Allison has put pressure on Davidson County for legal answers to these very painful questions. Jennifer.
Glenn, I simply cannot believe that we have to have this conversation, that I had to play that and had to show people that. But I don't think people would have believed this story if we hadn't given them an official report and accounting of it. I just don't. I think if we'd have just told it, they'd have sat there and said, "You're crazy. That can't happen in America today." It can. It did. It has. You have the video of it. If the reporters and the witnesses that describe what happened are even halfway accurate, this is an atrocity.
Yeah, I'm sure if we did the headline, Sheriff's Department flushes live baby down the toilet, I'm sure nobody would have believed that.
Nobody would have believed it.
No way. But here we have an innocent baby being flushed down the toilet, and we have people laughing about it. There's no criminal charges being brought. Monetary compensation, how is that even? That's almost an insult to think that you can pay for a baby with a monetary damage. Somebody needs to go to jail. People need to lose their jobs. The sheriff on down needs to be held accountable for it. This needs to be an outrage by every American. Every human being on the planet should be offended by this.
Glenn, you're a local deputy as well. What would have happened in your organization had something even close to this have happened, you think?
Well, as a special deputy, I don't interact with the sheriff's department as much. I'm mainly there to train and stuff, but I have gotten to know my sheriff and the undersheriff really well. Somebody would be sitting in jail right now if this happened here. There's no way Sheriff Howie would have ever allowed that to happen. He would have come unglued himself. I don't think we'd have had to worry about it quite so much here locally. And besides, I know the guys here. And I'm sure it's the same at every other sheriff's office as well. These are people from our community that have a job at the sheriff's department as turnkeys or whatever. These are our neighbors. So it's not just our public official happening. You got to look across the street and think, that guy right there, he would actually flush a baby down the toilet. I just can't see that happening. But here it wouldn't happen. I just don't see it happening.
You know, it's really stunning, too, because you end up seeing things like the UN referring to people as the human infestation. We have generations now who have been told that we come from a cosmic accident, a cosmic burp in water that was formed by billions of years of rain and all this other stuff. It's no wonder that we don't walk around having sanctity of life anymore. We don't think life is precious. We don't, as a society, treat life as important. We've been told by our governmental schools, not public schools, our governmental schools, that this is just normal. This is normal. We don't treat people like this anymore. But there's too many people. We need to get rid of some of them. It's crazy talk. We'll talk more about it, Glenn. We've got to take a break.
Before we take a break, I would really like to reach out to the mother and say from a deepest heartfelt sympathy and empathy for the situation you're in, your baby is an innocent soul, and I'm sure God has made that life just wonderful now. And if there's some comfort in that, God bless you.
Let it be. Stand by, we'll continue. This is Liberty Town Hall.
That leaky roof will cost you thousands in repairs, and gushing gutters can destroy your home's foundation. Phil Swift here for Flex Seal, the easy way to coat, seal, and stop leaks fast. Flex Seal fills cracks and holes, stopping the toughest leaks, remaining completely flexible. Flex Seal is actually liquid rubber in a can. To show you the amazing sealing power of Flex Seal, we replaced the bottom of this boat with a screen door and covered it in Flex Seal. After a day on the water, the inside is completely dry. Don't call a repairman, that'll cost you thousands of dollars. You can get Flex Seal right now for just $19.99. Flex Seal is perfect for roof repair and basement leaks and so much more. But wait, we're going to double your order. That's twice the sealing power for only $19.99. Just pay processing. Call now.
To order Flex Seal, call 1-800-472-8069 or order online at getflexseal.com.
You know, Glenn, this is one of those shows, especially with the sanctity of life issue, I really wish we didn't have to do. I mean, I didn't like doing this show. I didn't appreciate having to tell you this story. I didn't like bringing this to your living room. But if I hide this, if we don't talk about things that are going on in society right now, even when there are things we're not proud of, things we don't appreciate, and things we wish something better would happen, then, Glenn, what are we supposed to do? We're hiding the truth at that point.
I look at this from the viewpoint, if it was my daughter or my son or my granddaughter or grandchild, I don't know what I would do. How do you even, especially for being in jail for something so trivial as just trying to protect her boyfriend. I get it was a crime. I'm not condoning why she was in jail. But who cares? She's still entitled to the right to pursue happiness and propagate and have their family. And the innocent baby, where's that child's rights? This country is formed on the pretense that we all have our right to pursue happiness in our life.
For ourselves and our posterity.
Well, that would be our children.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it means.
Talk about the American dream being ripped away when you can't even have a baby. And, you know, I understand accidents happen. People die every day from accidents. But to laugh about it, how could you possibly laugh about a baby being flushed down the toilet alive? And then somebody said, didn't they, that had to clean it out with a snake?
Had to use a snake to clean the toilet so they could flush the baby down the toilet.
So they took the time with the baby alive to run a snake down the toilet so it would open up enough to have a baby flush. So this was an intentional act.
While the child was moving, according to the reports that we saw just now.
Shouldn't somebody be in jail?
Sure seems like it. I think you and I would be in jail if we acted like that on our own.
I thought only the politicians could get away with breaking our civil liberties this bad. This is our natural right to pursue life has just been laughed away.
But again, the sanctity of life is just gone. There's not everybody that feels this way, but there's enough that do, that is causing a societal breakdown that doesn't see a life of a child as an important life.
Well, what about this bill in Congress where they can abort a child 2 years after it's born? That's
been in the discussion stages for quite a while. It hasn't went anywhere yet. Let's hope it doesn't, but it could. It could, and we need to stay ever vigilant.
Anyone that's even talking about that in Congress should be fired instantly. Senate, House, either way.
Well, I don't mind them talking about it. I just want them to condemn it. That's what I want to see happen.
Okay, I mean, being a proponent of it, I guess anybody can even think that way should never be held in a position of authority of representation of our country.
To me, there's something wrong with somebody who advocates that. I mean, there's just something wrong inside when you can sit there and look and have so little respect for life as that. There is something wrong with you as a human being. I mean, it used to be we would treat people as a mental illness who thought that way. Now,
you were nuts if you thought it was okay to flush a baby down the toilet. You got to be some whack job.
Talk about the world going upside down. Now we treat people like that with respect and call them groundbreaking, and we treat people who hold to the sanctity of life or Christianity and God's word as people who are dangerous and strange and wackazoid and don't believe in science and all this nonsense.
Well, what about making the Catholic Church and its affiliates and organizations provide birth control or even abortion, day after pills, and so on and so forth? It's clearly against their religion to do these things.
Glenn, I'm going to go one step further. We need to stop saying the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I was just using it as an example.
Well, no, because the media says it like that. That's why you caught yourself doing that, because that's how they present it. The Catholic Church says, the Catholic Church says.
Everybody.
It's every religion. A Baptist hospital's in the same boat. A Lutheran hospital's in the same boat. A Methodist hospital or any other denomination who has any kind of medical facilities are in the same situation now.
How about Planned Parenthood taking my tax dollars and doing something that I totally think is a sin? Let's be real. Murder is a sin. So why are you taking my tax dollars and funding Planned Parenthood so they can help little kids, basically teenagers themselves, get abortions behind their parents' back even? Parents don't even have a right to know that their child's involved in these things.
I've caught a lot of grief where I'm at in my local area because I have stood up against even private funding. The United Way in my area gathers funds for several different organizations, and one of them is Planned Parenthood. So guess what I don't do? I don't participate with the United Way because I don't want some of my money, because you can designate money and it's still they can do what they please with it. And so I don't want my money going to Planned Parenthood or any other abortion provider, even if it's not for abortion services that my dollars go for. It saves money from somewhere else. They can come to me and say, well, we just use that money for pencils and paper and office supplies. Well, that just every dollar you can take away from office supplies and put into the abortion bin is one I'm not going to have or put up with. No, thank you.
Well, it's not quite as serious as killing a baby, but the presidential debate tonight. I really want to see how many things the president says that needs to be done that he said in the last election that he hasn't even addressed. And I want to see what Mitt Romney has laid out exactly how he's going to address his first term. And I'm not looking for anybody to make jokes out of a nuclear Iran. I really don't think that's a good idea either. I don't think we should have the smug and the arrogancy. I think both men should be treated with respect up there. They represent millions of people that believe as they believe, and so therefore they should have the respect. You can agree to disagree. We can disagree on many things, but it doesn't really matter if I show you no respect. Then we have nothing to work on without respect for each other.
We'll see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting debate. Thanks for watching us. This is Liberty Town Hall.
If ye love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget you were our countrymen. Samuel Adams, 1776.